Kelly Lemon, your host for RVA Grooves, standing outside the beautiful Virginia State Capitol. In a minute, we're going to have the unique experience to talk to the team that brought Spielberg's Lincoln to the state of Virginia. We're going to talk to the film office. We're going to talk to the city of Richmond and also talk to the set and design crew about the various locations and vendors that they use to bring Lincoln right here to the state of Virginia. RVA Grooves, all things arts and culture. Standing inside the Jefferson Room in the beautiful state capitol of Virginia with Richard Blankenship. He was the construction coordinator for Spielberg's Lincoln. Richard, talk about your job responsibility as construction coordinator.
Well, as construction coordinator, I'm responsible for getting all of the scenery built, organizing everything from greens, trees, the painting, the plasterwork, whatever the art department comes up with. I work hand in hand with the art department. You know, we then work with local vendors, Suez Lumber, Virginia Paint, a lot of the local folks here that supply everything, and we keep it local. I try very, very hard not to shop out of state. Maybe a couple things we have to get from California, some of the studios, but I'd say 95% spent right in Virginia.
Now, how did you get involved with this? How long have you been in this business?
Ooh, a long time. I used to build, and I still build, a lot of scenery for plays and operas and things like that. And I always tell people the circus came to town, and they found me. They needed a carpenter, and I worked as a carpenter. I worked as a production assistant. I did a little bit of everything. A little grip, electric, just to try all of it. And then one thing led to another. The business, took off for me, and I traveled a lot out of the state, but done most of my work in Virginia.
Talk about a little bit more. You said you used a lot of local businesses, and that helped Virginia's economic development, and it really impacted our local businesses here. You turned this room right here into something totally different. What vendors did you use, and how did you make the state capitol look like the White House?
Well, we built an incredible facade on the north side of the building. It was full scale of the exterior of the White House. We used people as far away as Virginia Beach, Norfolk, suppliers, and most of our team of folks working on it, crew-wise, were from Virginia. Some, again, from all over the state.
Well, Richard, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Construction coordinator for Spielberg's Lincoln. Now standing with Andy Edmunds. He is the Virginia Film Office interim director, correct?
That's right.
Andy, tell us, how did you get Spielberg to shoot Lincoln in the state of Virginia? What did that take?
Well, it really wasn't just me. It was a huge team effort involved. But I've got to say, it's been my pleasure to have worked for the Virginia Film Office for almost 16 years now. Mm-hmm. And over half of my tenure here at the Film Office has been in pursuit of this project. In fact, it took about 9 years. The first inquiry for this project was in February of 2003. And to put that in perspective, I now have a 9-year-old son who wasn't even born when we started the quest for this film. And it started out with a simple request about a project from the amazing film director, Steven Spielberg, and we had worked on another project with Mr. Spielberg, Minority Report, Tom Cruise, and in the Chesapeake Bay area. Mm-hmm. And we also worked on War of the Worlds up around Lexington. So during the production of War of the Worlds, Spielberg had talked about his Lincoln project that was a very important project to him, and we talked about a lot of the scenic beauty in that area and how that would play well into the film. Because the first iteration of the film started out as a much larger film that had many battle scenes and just wide, epic in scope. So the first pass of it back in February of '03 was larger. We were all over the state looking for locations that would tie into the movie he was trying to make. Over the years, though, the film became more and more focused on a specific area of Lincoln's legacy that he wanted to focus in on. So it changed kind of the locations we were searching for. And we kind of ended up focusing more in on Richmond, Petersburg area and how to tell this story. Spielberg came and scouted himself, and we looked around and he really fell in love with the locations, and especially right here at the state capitol and how we were able to basically park trucks around Capitol Square for 18 days and not move them was great value to them. To not have to move the trucks, it's saved a lot of money. And after all, it is show biz, not show fun. It is about putting the dollars on the screen. So once we did the scouting and figured out the logistics of how to do it around Capitol Square, then it really became a team effort of trying to pull together support from the city of Richmond, city of Petersburg, and multiple state agencies. We had agencies, everything from Virginia Department of Transportation, Governor's Office, obviously a big role. We filmed at the Governor's Mansion, even Department of Corrections, a lot of property out in Goochland County, Powhatan County, where we had built sets previously for the John Adams miniseries. So we're able to recycle some of those assets and adapt them for this film, use them over again, and make them look right for this movie, and make a very efficient package for Spielberg. And it was the Department of Tourism, City of Richmond Tourism, everyone pulled together because they knew how important this film would be. And it was not just for the economic impact the film would have when it came to Richmond, because they spent about $35 million on the ground in the Richmond region when they came, which had an economic impact of almost $70 million. So that was part of the big value to it. But really, during the 150th anniversary of the Civil War and Emancipation, to have this film and this story told by such a world-renowned storyteller in Virginia, we feel will have huge economic value in the future for tourism, as people will want to come and learn more about this moment in history. They'll come visit Richmond, come visit Petersburg and Virginia, and learn more about this part of history and spend their tourism dollars and come back for years to come. So that's really the ancillary value that we were looking forward to beyond the production of the film.
They say that Virginia is for lovers, and we always try to treat our guests with some Southern hospitality. How was Spielberg and the rest of their actors' experience here in Richmond, or in Virginia in general?
Well, you know, we like to also say Virginia is for film lovers. And I'm happy to report that Steven Spielberg and the whole crew really embraced the city of Richmond especially, and had a great time. And he personally told me how much he really enjoyed his experience here, great restaurants, walking around Belle Island, and all the things we love to do as Richmonders ourselves. But the thing that he really liked the most were the people. Everyone was really nice to them and gave them the room they needed to make the film. But most importantly, he said at the end of the project, he said that I will be back. So that's what we always like to hear. So they did have a great time, and really I just like to thank the community, City of Richmond, City of Petersburg, all the surrounding counties, all the agencies that helped us pull this together, especially the Governor's Office and the legislature that stepped up to the plate with the film incentives we needed as the tiebreaker to really bring this project here. Because the economics have to work. It can't just be the locations. The economic package has to work. So everyone stepped up and made it happen. And if it were not for this great cooperation we do receive from the community and helping us take over parking for a little while and the little inconvenience that can be temporarily, if it weren't for that cooperation, we would not be able to grow this industry in Virginia. And we plan to continue to do that, and we appreciate the cooperation.
Andy Edmonds, Virginia Film Office, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Kelly.
Now standing with Alan Rothert. He is the Special Events Coordinator, Film Liaison for the City of Richmond. How do you work with the community to let them understand how big this is for the residents as well?
Right. Well, first of all, it's a long process to notify the neighborhoods, to get everybody to buy in. There's some excitement, there's some resentment. You deal with a little bit of both, but frankly, the whole process of dealing with a big production coming to town is a coordination of city services. The whole idea of attracting a major motion picture is to, especially in Virginia, is to put a carrot on that stick that says this is why you need to do this here. And of course, we did as many in-kind services as we could and put a value on that to attract them. We certainly make it easy. We try to be film friendly here in the city. But there's also the historical value of being in Richmond. I mean, if you want to talk about Lincoln walking through Richmond several days after it was burned, this is where it happened. Yeah. I mean, yes, you can recreate that in another locale somewhere in the country, but here it is historically right at your feet. So.
When you talk about the historic value of it, does that lead other producers and other filmmakers to want to come to Richmond?
Oh, sure.
The big name as Spielberg coming here, how has that helped us maybe attract some more film audiences?
Oh, absolutely invaluable to have Mr. Spielberg work in your community and to leave your community happy with a great experience here, and I think he did. The value of him 2 years later sitting at lunch with somebody and mentioning Richmond as an easy place to work with friendly people. I mean, that's somebody's marketing campaign right there, and that was for free. So, yeah, having him here was a big thrill for all of us. I think we handled everything he needed professionally, as we do, because we have a lot of experience in filming here in the city. And I think it's basically like you said, the historical nature of Richmond is the first attraction to a lot of filmmakers, because they're looking for authenticity in this age of computer-generated images. To be able to film right there in front of the Capitol where Lincoln was, you know, is an amazing aspect to Richmond. So.
Now, special events coordinator, I'm assuming that you're bringing much more than just the films here to Richmond. I know we have this little bike race that's coming. What else is in the works for coming to the city?
Well, we just finished the major success Richmond Folk Festival. We had over 200,000 people over 3 days down just several blocks from here on the riverfront. That's hugely successful. It came here after the National Folk Festivals did a 3-year run here in Richmond. And the whole idea there is kind of the Johnny Appleseed approach of the National goes around the country and establishes itself and hopes that the community that hosts it comes up with their own festival, which we did. And we are now the largest folk festival of that kind in the country, bigger than the National in many instances. So we have really grabbed hold of tradition here, and that's what Richmond's all about, is the traditions.
And we do have bikers coming into town with the big cycling event coming in 2015, correct?
Every day I try to drum into the people's heads how big this is, because I really don't think anybody has a grasp of what the 2015 World Championships are. It is the Olympics for the world of cycling. The Tour de Pont that we did years ago here in the city kind of set us up as a bike-friendly city. The Tour de France, which is the big signature event for cycling, is all about competition and professional teams. But the World Championships is when all the professional riders go back to represent their countries. So that is a wonderful aspect of it, and it's 9 days of racing. 9 days of major headaches for me, but we'll make it work logistically.
So Alan, thank you for taking the time to talk to us and continuing to grow our big city. Kelly Lemon, RVA Grooves, all things arts and culture.